This video is a sequel to a previous video that I did titled The Recipe. This slightly remixed version is going to be called the Energy Balance Recipe. Make a note that this is covered in section 7.6 of the Felder, Rousseau, and Bullard textbook. And also want to make a quick note that there are 3 example problems which are really good in section 7.6, which I recommend that you go and read about. Step 1 is kind of a cheating step. It is to perform all material balances. So this is everything from chapters 4, 5, and 6. So go back to the previous recipe video and recognize that none of the stuff from before is being replaced. The energy balance just adds to this. When I say to solve the material balances, I mean that we want to solve for the amounts of every species in every stream. With caveats, of course. Remember that not every problem will require that you solve for every single variable. But in general, you'll want to know the amount of things if you want to perform energy balance on them. Also recall that this can be done by either solving for the overall amount and the composition of the stream, or by simply solving for the molar amounts of every species in every stream, like I did oftentimes when solving a material balance problem. The second step may seem a little bit trivial, but it is oftentimes overlooked, simply to identify the variable that you're asked to solve for. And for an energy balance, common variables that you may be asked to solve include temperature, pressure, Q, the heat transferred, or the shaft work that you can get from a particular process. This is all just for example and not an exhaustive list. So I highlight these 4 variables because notice that these variables are not variables that you can solve for with a material balance. Therefore, these are the ones that you absolutely need an energy balance to solve. I'll also note that it could be that the energy balance variable that you could solve could potentially be a mass flow rate. So I'll write or a mass flow rate here as well. Once again, here, reading the problem statement is absolutely critical to your success. If you're unclear, reread the problem statement. Never stop rereading the problem statement if you keep having questions. Step 3 is to write and simplify the energy balance for the open or closed system. So first you have to identify whether or not your system is open or closed, and primarily we'll be dealing with open systems, but we may see some closed systems when we're starting out. And the simplified version of the energy balance will oftentimes simplify to Q is equal to delta H, or shaft work is equal to delta H for open systems, and the analogous forms for the closed systems. So Q is equal to delta H without a dot for closed. And like I said, these are common ways that the energy balance is simplified. This is not where you should start. So this is, again, only an example. This is oftentimes what the energy balance simplifies to, but not always. So I think it's good practice to always start with the full form of the open or closed energy balance, cancel terms as appropriate, and you'll find that they oftentimes reduce down to these forms. Step 4 is to determine specific enthalpies for each component in each stream. So if you have a table, so if we're talking about water, for water, or in parentheses, steam, because steam is the gas form of water, use tables B5, B6, and B7. Well, I'll say or, not and. And then for all other components, wait until chapter 8. For everything else, wait for chapter 8, where we'll discuss other ways that you can calculate specific enthalpies for components. Now, I will say that if it is another component that is very common, it's possible that you may be able to find a table for that species on the internet. And I would say that that is also a valid approach at this point. But in chapter 7, we'll be primarily discussing water energy balances, and that is because that's the only species that is tabulated in the back of your textbook. But again, just beware of the fact that for many commonly studied chemicals, there exists the analog of the steam tables on the internet, and that would also be a valid way to determine what H hat is as well. Notice also that in order to know what delta H is, so a prerequisite to this of looking up delta H's, not delta H's, specific enthalpies, H hats, looking up H hats, is that you must know the temperature, pressure, and phase. Must know T, P, and phase of matter. If you don't know one of these things, if one of these things is your unknown, obviously you can't solve for the delta H that way, in which case your energy balance would tell you what your specific enthalpy ought to be. Step 5 is to go forward and solve. So from your simplified energy balance, Q dot is equal to delta H dot. Remember, you can pull the M dot out so that you get M dot times delta H. And here the delta is understood to mean the sum of all the outputs minus the sum of all the inputs. So along with that, I'll also give you the hint that don't forget to account for separate components separately. In other words, let's say I had a simple condensation process where I had steam coming in and I had a change of pressure temperature such that I had saturated steam and some liquid water coming out. Saturated steam and saturated liquid. And what would my delta H be if I wanted to calculate what my Q is? Well, again, delta H refers to the sum of all the outputs minus the sum of all the inputs. So delta H dot is going to be equal to my mass of saturated steam times H hat saturated steam out. So this is at the outlet conditions, which I haven't specified here in this quick problem, plus my mass of saturated liquid times my specific enthalpy for saturated liquid at my outlet conditions minus my mass of steam coming in times H hat for steam at the inlet conditions. So once again, this was just a quick example to show you that if I have multiple things coming out of a system, I have to account for their enthalpies separately. And steam and liquid water are indeed counted as two separate species because of what I said up here. You must know TP and phase. Enthalpy is a state variable, which means it depends on all these three things. So even if you have a different phase of matter, the enthalpy is different and it must be accounted for differently. That will conclude this video. Thanks for watching.